What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and are you ready for some lunar shenanigans? Because I'm starting a new segment. I'm still working on that intro, but I'm starting a new segment on this channel. It's new to this channel. It's called the Lunar Shenanigans, like I said, and it goes over the lunar astrology. We're going to cover the week from moon day to Sunday, and we're just going to talk about the signs that the moon changes into, the different aspects that we're going through, and how to relate that to your chart. Because, the moon is very busy. The moon is constantly talking, and the moon is how we sense all of the things, what's going on around us. It's no different than if we were to, or I think a good comparison would be with the weather. We get different signs. We see the clouds in the sky, we see the sun in the sky, and then those responses signify, like, okay, I either want to be in shorts and do this, or I want to be covered up, have my umbrella, whatever that may look like for us, and how we relate to the energies that are going on around us. So my intention with this thing here is to help give just like a general feel of the energies that we all collectively would be going through, and then again to think about it in relationship to your chart and see how because we all respond to the weather differently. I'm thinking, just for an example, I love the sun. I'm a Leo rising. I have a friend who's sun and Sag. She can't be bothered with it, and so we all relate to those things, and we all feel these things differently. And I think that the more that we learn to dip into those feelings and how to make practical sense of those feelings, when we can feel grounded in the emotions and the intuition, that's a very powerful place to be. And the moon will help us do that. So I prepared this whole thing for you. So let's go ahead and switch over. Look at this. I got a little slideshow for you, like a professional or something. But yes, we're going to go over the lunar shenanigans today. And we're just going to go ahead and jump into this thing starting this thing up on a moon day, the 23rd of June. We're starting off with a bit of the moon is in a waning crescent phase, and it's getting ready to transition into Cancer soon. But we're starting off with a bit of a tougher aspect here. The moon's going to be forming a square with Mars, and I have the chart up here for that. Here's the moon at 3 degrees and 22 minutes of Gemini, and here's Mars at 3 degrees and 22 minutes of Virgo. Now, when we're thinking about Mars, Mars is a lesser malefic, so there may be this energy of maybe frustrations, maybe of anger, maybe tensions, maybe feeling like you've hit a wall or some point, because both this Moon and Mars are under the rulership of Mercury in this instance. And so there may be a lot of mental energy that's going on here. Maybe you're trying to make sense of the since that Mercury is in that Cancer energy, maybe we're trying to make sense of the things that we're feeling. We're trying to rationalize some sort of things. Or again, this could be something where maybe you're having a trouble, let's say with this chart, for example. Maybe there's something that's going on with your commute at your workspace. Maybe there's something with your car that you have to figure out, oh, okay, maybe you got a flat tire, so now I need to take public transport for the day, or maybe I need to take a lift for that day, or figuring out what's the best way to do that. Maybe there's something that's going on, tensions with the family. So this would be one where I would be kind of mindful of letting our emotions get ourselves riled up and frustrated to where we end up that kind of moon in Gemini saying things that we don't mean in the moment, because Gemini's quick sometimes when it gets going. So just something to be mindful of there. But I think the kind of this sort of balancing thing with this energy is that the moon and Mercury are in mutual reception. So that could be, I think the head and the heart could be connected. This could be a moment where when you're feeling those frustrations, just pause for a minute. Let's do something with the body, maybe do something with the hands. Maybe this is like maybe writing about this for a bit, maybe drawing about it, maybe go work out about it. But something to kind of tame the nervous system there. So that would be something to kind of watch out maybe for this moon day, just kind of pay attention to. And I would say too, if you happen to have a lot of mutable placements, this one may impact you more significantly. That'd be like Virgo, Pisces, and Sag here for as far as like an opposition goes. Those are going to be the more harder aspects that may be feeling this. So just kind of tune into that, see what's been coming up for you, see what your relationship is with Gemini, what themes may be coming up for your house, over this house of things that may be lighting up over these next couple of days. So just something to pay attention to there. But that's why I kind of did these background in red. It's more of a bit of a tougher energy that we're starting off with. But again, if we can use Mars constructively, this could be where you maybe could find some sort of, like, maybe you can work your way through a problem. You could have some sort of breakthrough, whatever that might look like for you. Now let's continue into Mars Day because we're continuing the red going. We got another hard aspect here. Now on the 24th of June, the moon, well, first off, we're in a waning crescent phase now, but now the moon is getting ready to change over into Cancer, and that's going to happen at about 8:45 p.m., and that's Pacific time, by the way. And once the moon moves into Cancer, the nice thing about that is that the moon is in at home, and look at the company that the moon is keeping. We got Big Papa here, we got the sun, we have Mercury here that's still hanging out there for a little while longer. So we got a nice little party here in that the moon is taking care of right now. And this is, like I said, where the moon is in its domicile. So when the moon is at home, or when a luminary or planet is at home, that means that they have all the resources that they need, all the things that they need to take care of the energies that they know that complement how they function. So the moon in Cancer is a really great time to dip into the feelings, to see how things may have been, what have you been moving through over these, maybe during that Mars energy. Pay attention to, because Cancer energy is like associated with like the stomach and like the kind of like the mucus, the breast, things like that. So these are some sensitive energies that the Cancer is tending to. So that's why I always feel it's a great time to just like really tune into what you're feeling, how you're feeling about certain situations. And this could be where, because the moon is going to form an aspect with Saturn, and Saturn does have a bit of the upper hand here, just because it's in a superior square with all these planets, whether it be by aspect or by whole sign here. So there may be feeling the pressures of Saturn, whatever responsibilities that we're having. And I think that there's something here about not necessarily shying away from the responsibilities of Saturn, those hard times, because they're where we may not always want to do Saturn work, because it is the greater malefic. It may requires us to be disciplined, requires patience, maybe does like, has us like cut things away or removes things and takes things away. But Saturn's doing all these things for our growth here. And so this may be something where you're maybe needing to sit with whatever started this week off with Mars. Now we're really kind of feeling the pressure of it, like, dang it, this went this way, and now I really have to take care of this thing. But maybe you don't feel like it. But hopefully with that kind of Jupiter energy, we kind of tap into that a little bit. I think that do some nourishing things for yourself. This would be a great sort of like self-care time that I would say. Just kind of, be with yourself through those energies if there's something coming up for you, because this is a lot of heavy cardinal energy that we're in. So if you have any placements like Libra, Aries, or Capricorn, those are going to be more harder aspects for you. So I would just take care of, allow yourself to acknowledge the emotions if there are things that are coming up for you, giving the space to process that, maybe doing something martial, getting outside, working out, doing some yoga, things like that, because all these planets are overcoming Mars, so that's kind of nice there. But it's going to require a bit of initiative to get to maybe kind of work through this. So, but even Venus is providing a lot of support here. We got a lot of nice this chart in general. This is a really kind of nice little nice little setup here, minus Saturn. So, we can, with a little effort, we can make the most of this day, and then look, things are great. Because when we get into Mercury Day on the 25th of June, we still got that moon in Cancer, but now we're getting ready to start a new lunar cycle. And this is going to happen at about 3:32 a.m., and again, that's Pacific time. And that's going to be happening at 4 degrees and 7 minutes here, if you can see where my cursor is pointing. You got the sun and the moon. The new moon is when the sun and the moon are conjunct one another, and a conjunction is a fusion of energies. So we're taking that higher light of the mind and we're fusing it honestly into the body. That's how the moon gathers. The moon, it's like how I was saying, like how another analogy I would put it is like when you're in a car and you're driving and you're trying to find like a certain genre of music, or you're trying to find that radio station. The moon is the antenna that's picking up on the waves that you can't see, but there that there's something there. You know what I mean? And so now that it's this moon is trying to, and really kind of feeling this one. This is a really nice new moon, because now we're in these next couple of new moons, because it's going to be in the domiciles of the luminaries. They're going to be able to provide a lot of the resources that they can for this lunar cycle. So this would be one where, think about some of the things maybe that you're wanting to, what house is this activating for you during this time? What are some ways that you want to take care of some things over this house, or you'll maybe get something started over these next couple of weeks here as we go over this new lunar cycle, because this is a really great energy here. It's close conjunction with Jupiter, and that's where the aspects are, which basically everything that I talk about. The moon's going to be doing conjunctions with Jupiter and doing a conjunction with the sun. And like I said, the conjunctions are the fusion of energy. So the moon, how we feel, how we sense, is being expanded with Jupiter, and it's being expanded with that soul light. This could be a very inspired time. I would really kind of dig into, like, really pay attention what comes up for you. And considering that Mercury's still there too, it may be hard to put into words, but at least I think that there's a way to at least understand what's been imprinted in this energy, what we're really kind of feeling in this. And then that moon sextile Mars, there's an opportunity here, because that's happening very well. Now that I'm looking at that, they're both going to be applying to Mars right after this. And so Mars is very closely woven into this conjunction here, but it's something where it's one thing to have the feeling, to get the intuitive nudge to be doing whatever it is that you want to be doing, but you have to have the follow through, and you have to be able to take those insights and ground them and to materialize them. Otherwise, they're just feelings, which there's nothing wrong with that. This could just be a nice time to just feel inspired, to feel, just feel whatever, feel like in just a good place, because everything is pretty well placed minus Saturn here. But this could be, for example, with this chart, if you have a Gemini rising, this could be where maybe you're thinking about some ways to start up some money so that that might affect your home space. Maybe you can have like an add-on to your home space. Maybe you can move all together. Maybe you get a new job that you want to, that increases your livelihood. So whatever that might look like, that could be maybe finding new ways from working, making some money from home. But it's going to require some creative thinking with the sextiles. That's when the planets are, as you see here, they're about 60 degrees apart, and they're in signs that have that sort of like receptive energy, like, between like yin signs, or between like fire and air, which are more yang energies. So this could be a great time again to receive, and then that Mars and Virgo can put that energy into use. So yeah, don't try not to sleep on that one. That's a really nice little transit there, and we're keeping the green going. Don't we love that? So on a Jupiter day, the 26th of June, this is where, before I talk about the transition into Leo, right before that, the moon is going to form a sextile with Venus. And, Venus is that's going to be happening when the moon is in its domicile, Venus is in its domicile, so everyone has these resources. Venus is able to attract these resources to form any sort of like collaborations on anything that you're wanting to get started. Whether this be, looking up different ideas, different creative ideas, let's say if you want to start a business, this could be great for that. Maybe again, like with this Aquarius rising, maybe because that would have happened in your sixth house there, maybe there would have been something there between the home and work. Maybe you want to start up a new work or new sort of like routine at your home space, possibly here, something to improve your health, or maybe something to, new self-care tactic, or maybe this is a new hobby, maybe this is a new family activity, something like that. That could even be something there, but yeah, this with this sextile energy here, this can again create some sort of like opportunities for you. So while we have those good couple of days of the kind of nicer feeling energies, pay attention to that. See how that may come up for you, because where it would have been a square for the cardinal energies, this would have been a nice little smooth move, kind of more effortless time for like Scorpio or Pisces. And again, with these sextiles between Taurus and Virgo, that's potentially creating some doors. But next, the little thing we'll talk about is the moon will move into the gregarious Leo, and that's going to happen at about 11:06 Pacific time, and that's going to be 11:06 p.m. Now, when the moon is in Leo, we love that because this is now the moon is and the sun are in mutual reception, which is where they're in each other's domiciles here. So they're able to receive, again, resources from one another. And so this, I think, these next couple of days while the moon is in Leo, this can be a great time to pay attention to the things that fuel you. Pay attention to how you're feeling about the things that you're doing, and how can you add maybe some more heart into your world, some more things again that just get the blood pumping, that get you just feeling alive, feels like the energies are really moving. Leo, it's not about, I would say, look at where, when we're thinking about fire energy, we're thinking about that will, the desire, the thing, the will to be. And the moon is very, at least when it enters into Leo, it's coming up right behind Mercury. Mercury just entered into Leo not too long ago. So there's a way of, this could be fresh ideas coming through. This could be a way for a new kind of revival sort of like experience that could happen here if you just like maybe decide like, today I think I'm going to start a new and what a perfect way to do it on a Jupiter day. Do it on, think I want to do this sort of project, or maybe I want to make more time for this, or I'm going to look into that, or I'm going to maybe take up this course, I'm going to do this activity. Again, whatever this looks like for you, this could be where, coming up with this person here, again, that Aquarius rising, this could be where something's happening in your seventh house. Maybe you want to start some sort of collaborative project. Maybe you want to do something maybe with this could be an opportunity to do something with your partner, possibly here if you're married, or if you're in some sort of relationship, or to improve any sort of relationship, have some sort of schedule, some sort of get together, whatever this is looking like. So yeah, just some things to think about there. I like when the moon's in Leo, but I especially kind of like these next couple of days. The moon's going to be in kind of nice. The moon and the sun are going to be in a nice conversation here, so definitely pay attention to the things that come up. Now, on a Venus day, we're kind of slowing down. The yellow energy is one where it's not that it's harsh energy. It's we got a couple of aspects here. The moon's still in Leo. We're in the waxing crescent phase. The moon, like I said, is that Venus day. The following day is going to form that conjunction with Mercury. So now the head and the heart are kind of fused to one another. We're really kind of tuned into what we're thinking. How do I want to put that? We're tuned into how we're thinking about how we're feeling about the body. Yeah, I think that makes sense. But this could be where one, I would say, just pay attention to, like, look at what has been fueling your mind as of late. I think with the moon in the moon kind of conjuncting Leo here, has this stuff been something that has been keeping you excited, has been wanting you to try different things in life, to maybe explore different foods, to explore different hobbies, explore different conversations, whatever that might look like, and see where the energies have maybe kind of slowed things down, where it's maybe kept you kind of stagnant. Because Leo energy, I think about, Leo can be like associated with like the blood pressure, the circulation, the heart. We want to think about things that if you've been feeling kind of stagnant, or the mind energy has been kind of sluggish, this can be a great time to do some more sort of like stimulating activities, whatever that might look like for you. So find some things that you might be interested in there. But the interesting transit, which is why I kind of gave this slide a more of a neutral color here, is that we have the moon trine Saturn, which we love. If we're going to have an aspect with the malefic, better a trine than a square or, an opposition. So we're going to take that. Absolutely. And that's going to be happening at 1 degree and 43 minutes where that's going to be happening. So just as soon as the moon shortly after the moon enters into Leo. But the trines are, it's ease with little effort. It can create this opportunity. There's this blessings that can come with the trine energy, because that happens when they're in like elements. So the energies just flow more naturally. So this could be thinking about things that you maybe, let's say for example with this chart, maybe there's some 12th house things, some maybe like depressing things that maybe we've been dealing with, some feelings of loss. Maybe we've been feeling a little confined, a little isolated, things like like that. But this could be where maybe you're doing some things around the home space here to kind of help you get out of that rut, finding different, maybe you start working out from home, maybe you start to bring some life into the place, maybe you got like plants that you're bringing in there, maybe you're starting to maybe host, like maybe you're just letting your family know what's going on there, and maybe they can help you kind of provide some resources there. That could be even be something that could be coming up. So that's why it's like it's still work, that is coming with Saturn, but it can be work that can be like less burdensome. Something that will ultimately lead to a more positive outcome there. And again, that may depend on your relationship with Saturn too, how Saturn's placed in your chart, if you have a day versus a night chart, things like that. So definitely apply that to your situation. But this is a nice little kind of flow energy between any sort of like fire placements and yeah, I'd say fire energies, air energies minus maybe like Libra and Aquarius. That might be a little bit maybe tougher to reconcile possibly, just because just looking at where those are placed. But again, this is how we kind of relate to those energies. This is how you can kind of get to play around like, okay, yeah, I do have a lot of Libra. How is this a lot? Why does this seem a little more difficult for me? It's still creating a sextile with that moon, but it just like it's how you may relate to it might be differently. These are these little nuances that can really be very powerful kind of insights there, as we're getting to, you understand how it feels on a daily basis with the moon, or on a monthly basis with the moon. That helps you to, I think, conceptualize the kind of longer transits when we're talking about Mercury, the Sun, Venus, Jupiter, Mars, all of them, and think about, okay, this is my relationship with Aries energy, and this is my relationship with it each month. And then when these planets are moving, oh, this is how that's changed. So yeah, really get you kind of asking some neat questions. Now we're still kind of and this is still nice. I think ultimately, I just called it like a little bit neutral just because it requires a little work, but we're still that moon in Leo, and the moon is squaring Venus. But I still think like it's a square with the benefic, so that's really, maybe there's something with, and this is happening at 23 degrees and 50 minutes, by the way, this square. So this one may be a bit of a tougher one between like, maybe between the fixed signs, that's Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio placements. But the energies are, thinking of ways to how to harmonize, how to bring things into balance, whatever this is looking like. Maybe you're trying to find a balance, let's say with this chart, between your relationships and your career possibly, and the things that you want to accomplish. That may be that, and that it may be just things like that, where it's like, it may require a little bit of juggling there, but overall we can find harmony. And it doesn't have to be something that has to be just stressful, or where you have to be. And that's kind of where I'd sort of put it in a bit of a more of a neutral place, as opposed to putting it in a green place. Because I mean, any aspect with the benefic is beneficial, but it's just like, depends. And again, it just depends on maybe how we receive that sometimes. It may not always feel like that, or may not always feel comfortable to do that may not always feel a comfortable modality for us to operate in. Maybe you have maybe a tricky relationship with Venus in your chart, so that might even be something to just kind of explore there, how you understand the concepts of Venus. But yeah, this could be where, yeah, and I think too, maybe even making more time just for kind of taking care of the body. I like to think of when we have like Venus Moon aspects, that's definitely kind of like it reminds me of like the Queen of Cups type of energy, just making sure to take care, see how we're doing, how we're feeling, how are we in an abundant mindset, Empress kind of energy. So yeah, those are some things that I would think about with that moon square Venus. But an opportunity, I think, especially with Venus overcoming the moon, an opportunity, or being in the superior position there, I think an opportunity where, yeah, we can take some, how do I want to put that? The things that you start now, these sort of like corrective things, could have some real kind of long-term impacts, especially in fixed energies. So, but yeah, let's get to the last one here, because on a Sunday, the 29th of June, we have another busier day, kind of a more neutral transits, and I gave it neutral just because it's the moon's forming some nice relationships with or conversations with the sun and Jupiter, but we have this fusion of martial energy that's in the mix here, that's happening. But the moon, this is all going to happen right after the moon enters into Virgo, which is happening pretty early, at least Pacific time. It's happening at 4:44 a.m. A little auspicious there. But once the moon enters into Virgo, as you see over on this slide here, we're going to have some opportunities, some more sextiles that are going to be happening with Jupiter. And like I said, it'll start with Jupiter, maybe feeling this sense of expansion, feeling like, okay, getting these ideas. But then the moon conjunct Mars, where I think it can be a constructive energy, of course, but it may be one where the way that we're getting energized or getting caught, kind of like maybe getting into action, may come from a source of frustrations. We don't just, I think sometimes the malefics remind us we don't know what we like until we know what we don't like. And I think that it's keeping that relationship in mind. And I think that's something where this could be where maybe you're thinking about, for example, maybe your home space. This is, okay, we got another Gemini rising chart. But this could be where, you're thinking about where that conjunction happens. Maybe you're having feelings about your environment, where your neighborhood, maybe things have changed. You don't like that. Maybe the money that you're making at the place, you want something, a more place that supports what you want to do. So that might be what causes that, for example. It's going to lead to some great opportunities, but again, it might be from a source of frustration where we may be feeling repressed in things like that. And that would be something that I would tune into with Mars, forming a conjunction with Moon and then Mars being in conjunction with one another. Really kind of, because this is a very practical moon when we have the moon in Virgo. Because let's talk about that for a little bit. The Virgos, they're the mutable earth sign. They're receptive or yin in nature. We're under the rulership of Mercury now. And I think of Virgo, they are the problem solvers. They're ones that are going to, this is working, this is not working. That discerning sort of energy there. And I would just pay attention to, like, this can be a great one where you're sensing these frustrations, and again, not to just let them sit. Because I think with those sextiles, like, those energies can kind of come and go. And granted, it'll stay in a sign a whole sign aspect sextile over these next couple of days. But it's like the energy's most potent on this Sunday here. So yeah, I would take this thing, if you notice any sort of like frustrations that come up, especially around during that time when the moon conjuncts Mars, because that'll be probably in about 12 hours from now, because the moon moves about 2 degrees or a degree every 2 hours. So yeah, it'll probably be at about 12, maybe 13, 14 hours. So we're looking at about maybe 6, 7 p.m., something like that. So pay attention to the energies that are building up during this day. What kind of actions that you can take to solve them. So, but yeah, they're gonna move over there. But yeah, overall, I'd say it's a pretty balanced week. It starts off a little bit of tension, and then we're just back and forth between some motion and then some neutral energies. And I feel like that's a pretty solid week to have. I think in the grand space. I hope that you enjoyed that. Let me know if you like this video, if you like that sort of presentation style. But yeah, this is going to be something that I think I'll release. Well, if it's for Moon Day, I may have to release this every Sunday. So this might actually be coming out on Sunday. We'll see about that. Or maybe I'll get this worked out. I'm not going to hold you there for that one. But yes, if you like that and you enjoyed that, give it a thumbs up, share this thing, because again, we all benefit from knowing what's going on with the moon. And if you if you want to work with these energies more personally, see how, maybe you have your moon in Virgo, have your moon in Leo, moon in Cancer. You just want to understand how to work with those energies, or work with your chart in general. Down in the description box, I have my email down there to get in touch with me with the services that I provide. And considering that we now just moved into Cancer season, if you want to book a reading with me and you have your sun in Cancer, you get 10. Am I doing 10? I think I'm doing 10% off. 10% off for any readings that you get with me. So, and then if you've repeated, or someone who's booked a reading with me before, that gives a little extra 15 on top of that. So that's something to keep in mind too. So this could be incentive, to just get on a regular thing, if that's something that resonates with you. But we can go over different elections, or different, maybe you're going to an annual perfection year, see what kind of transits are going to be more potent for you during that period of time. So all sorts of good things that we can go over with these energies. And I also offer a tarot and I Ching reading as well. And then a couple other things. If you want to just follow the weekly transits that are going on with the sun and the other planets, I have a playlist over there for that. Are going over just where the planets, similar to this, where the planets are at and how to work with the energies, how to ground them. And then I have this series that I'm doing of different celestial bodies and different signs and different houses. So all sorts of material on here for you, and I hope you enjoy that. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Oh, well, either Sunday or Moon Day. Something like that.